Good morning, this is Tia with Willow&Wheat, and we're going to be working on a cute little mouse that's in a pumpkin house. I'm using my Dark and Dreadful brush set because I want a really gritty, grainy feel, but you don't have to use this set. If you don't have it, you can use Procreate brushes, and I'll show you some good substitutes. I also am working with my Sleepy Harvest color palette. That's the one you see here at the top. And if you look at it, you can see it's a limited color palette. It does not have, it's missing approximately 8 of the colors from the palette because I wanted to kind of limit the amount of colors I'm using. I wanted a more muted and understated look. So I'm just going to go ahead and start out jump ahead right to the mouse. So for me, I will be using the Birch&Nest sketch pencil. If you don't have the Dark and Dreadful collection, go ahead and choose in Procreate, in the sketching, I recommend the 6B pencil or your sketch pencil. And some of these lines we're making now, we're going to even erase later. So don't worry, it's not perfection, where perfection is not our goal. So I'm just going to kind of make a rounded triangular shape, and this is going to be the mouse's head. So we do want a little bit of a point on it, but we also want to keep it pretty round because he's a baby mouse, so he still is like one of those cute, rounded, wider faces. So again, I don't care if I have a lot of sketch lines. A lot of these are going away. I just want to have a good feel of the shape of his head. So as I look at that, I do like it. It looks a little bit like a turnip or a or a beet to me, a beet shape. But I might want a little bit more of a point. I can always go back later. And I know when I do the nose over here, right there is where the nose is going to go. I know when I do the nose, it's going to look a lot pointier. So I'm going to go to my top of the iPad and press on my arrow tool. I'm just going to move it over here for a minute because I've got more mouse coming along, and I'm going to move into the general shape of his body. So to do that, I'm just going to kind of make a connected rounded oval right here for now, an ovally shape like that. So here you just have like a circular shape that's pointed, and here you have an oval shape that's connected to it. Oopsies. Now from this ovally shape, I'm kind of going to extend one part of it like this, kind of make a little mousy arm so he can sleep on that. Doesn't look like much right now. And right here, around his bottom, I'm going to just go ahead and bring up a little tail, which we can perfect later. And let's go ahead and make some ears. I like mine really pronounced, so I'm going to make mine a little bit bigger, and just kind of like 2 ovally shapes. This one's closer to us, so it'll be a little bit bigger. This one will be a little bit smaller. And I'm actually going to erase just a little bit right now, even though it's very premature, because I just want to show you this feature. If you long press on the eraser, just press and hold, it's going to grab the brush that you're painting with to erase. So what's cool about that is then when you go to erase, as you can see, you've still got that Burtonesque sketch pencil, but now as an eraser. So it doesn't look as obvious. It kind of looks much more organic in the eraser. It almost looks like you never made the line at all. So I'm just erasing a little bit of where the body met the arm down here, a little bit of the face at the bottom where there's some sketchy marks. I just wanted to show you that feature. Okay, now most artists don't make a new layer when they go to make their eyes and nose on this on any little animal or even person that they make, but I do like to make a new layer for the eyes, and I'll tell you why. To me, the position of the eyes is super important. I'm going to choose my spidery thin liner for the eyes. If you don't have a darkened Dremel in your sketching, you can use the Narender pencil. It's one of my favorite. It's down here. Oops. It's down at well, you can see I've used it a lot. So let's see, back to darkened Dremel. I have my spidery thin liner. I like to move my eyes around because, oops, let's see what I did here. Excuse me for that. And the reason is, to me, the eye position is very important when it comes to making sure that the animal I'm making is as cute as I can possibly make it. And it has a lot to do with the eyes, because children and babies have they're depicted as having larger eyes, as you know, and also very wide set and low eyes. And so sometimes just the eye placement or the eye size can really affect the cuteness of your character. So knowing that, I want to play around with the size. I don't know if it's cheating to do that. I mean, I guess I can see how it could be considered cheating, because you can't do this with a traditional pen and paper. So, but Procreate has so many wonderful options. I don't see why we shouldn't avail ourselves of these. So for now, I'll put them there because it's a sleepy little mouse. But as I said, we may want to move them later. And I'm even going to leave each eye on a separate layer now, because I feel so strongly about the placement of the eyes. So nose, let's make a new layer for the nose. I don't always make a new layer for the nose. I'm going to go back to my Burtonesque sketch pencil for this. But because we're making layers, why not? So now I'm glad I did make a new layer, because I think I want to go a little bit smaller. Maybe even turn it a little by moving on the green dot that's surrounding it. Okay, I think I like that. And I think I'll go ahead and just put my mouth right on the same layer as the nose. I'm going to kind of make him appear either very sleepy or as though he is yawning. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. Kind of give it a little bit of a more defined shape there. Definitely looks like a little bit of a yawny face. Okay. So now I think I'm pretty happy with the eye placement. I'm going to go ahead and merge all my layers. This is now my mouse right here. But I want to color him in, and I want to color him underneath my sketch, not on top. So I'm just going to switch these layers now. So as you can see, my mouse layer is here. If you're comfortable with naming your layers, we can do that. This layer is mouse. this layer is going to be, well, it's also going to be mouse, but it's going to be the color. So in my color palette, I think I'm going to choose, let's see, let's go with this lightest one for now, just for now. You know what? Let's do a light gray. So that would be 1, 2, 3. That would be number 6, I think, in your top row of your color palette. And in the Dark and Dreadful, I want something that's kind of furry. I've got hirsute brushes, very furry brushes. Fur ball. This fur ball one's kind of cool. That's maybe a little too furry. Yeah, I'm going to use fur ball. I'm just going to lower the size. And this fur ball brush will be free to you because I don't see a Procreate version of it. So I'm going to offer it free in the description. So I'm just going to follow along my little fur ball of a mouse and let him have a lot of texture. Of course, I'm going to erase some of the texture from the ears and nose later. And of course, I don't want the tail or the hand either to have texture. So now, oopsies, I'm just going to go ahead and copy this layer because I realize that it's not opaque and I don't want whatever my background is to shine through. So if I copy it, you can see that it darkened a lot. So I'm going to go to the layer underneath. I'm going to go ahead and brighten that up. So now I still do have that lighter gray, and I'm going to copy this white one underneath a couple times just to make sure it's nice and opaque so that even if we have a dark background, my little mousey is still going to keep his own color. I don't want to merge the very top layer yet because I haven't finished erasing all of my strokes that I want to erase on the top layer. I do think that I do think I missed a little spot here on his face, and I'll show you a quick trick with that. If you hit your arrow at the top left and then come down to the warp, and let's take away the background so you can see better the little spot that I missed on his face, I can kind of pull my color and try to cover that. So let's see if I did it. Yep, that's better. Okay, so I am going to hit my eraser and hold it. So now when I erase, I'm erasing with the fur ball brush. I'm going to erase, oops, not too much. I'm going to erase a little bit in the ears. And let's go ahead and do some shading for our mousey. Let's grab the darker gray that's right next to the lighter gray. Go back to your fur ball. Right here about 5%. And we're gonna just make some furry shading right here. And I obviously see that it's way far out of the line, but oopsies, oh my goodness, that was a mistake. I meant to add a new layer to do that. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's try that again. I'm just going around the bottom and the back on the areas where I think there would be a lot of shade. Imagining that the source of light. In this case, it will be a moon. I'm imagining that the source of light is coming from the top. So as you can see, I've got kind of 3 different layers of shade. The darkest, or I'm going to go 4th layer, a little bit even darker at the very bottom. And then I'm going to use either a blending brush, or if you don't have any purchase Procreate collections, you can use your tippy top smear brush. It's on the right hand side. It's the finger. It's like a little smudge or smear brush. And even if you hold that one a long time, now you're going to be blending with the exact brush that you have been using. So when I'm blending, at first I like to take the opacity down a little bit, because I do want a nice gradual blend. I don't want an immediate shift. So I like it to be something more like that. And then I will go up to my layers. Here's my shading layer, and I'm going to hit clipping mask. So what the clipping mask does is it makes sure anything you drew will only stick or clip to the layer beneath it. So since the layer beneath it had no color on the tail and no color around the mouth, now my shading will only stick to the mouse's body and face. So yay for that. I'm gonna merge those together. But I'm not done, because as we know, when you stick your head on top of your arm and the light is shining from above your head, you're going to have some shade under the head. So we have to make sure we address that. So let's stay with our fur ball, stay with our darker color, maybe go a little bit smaller now. And we're going to go underneath the mouse's head. That's our first stroke. The closer we get to the source of what's causing the shade is going to get a little bit darker. So as you can guess, we're going to have a little bit of erasing to do after this one. So blending. I hit that smudge button at the top for those of you who are using the Procreate only brushes. Okay, and now I'm going to erase and hold. I'm going to hold my erase button so I can go ahead and gently erase. Wait, this should be gently erase with the brush that I choose. Okay, let's do a little bit under the ears. The ears poke up and the moon's on top of them, so there would be some shading under the ears. Make sure that's on clipping mask and merge that and go again. I'm using my fur ball brush. A little bit right here. You know what? Let's take the fur ball brush size down to 2. Just a touch. I'm blending. Now again, when I blend, I like to use the larger blender. I'm using the I'm using the Untitled brush to blend, it looks like. And I'm using opacity 59. Okay, and going to make that a clipping mask too. little bit too dark over here for me. Lighten that up a little bit. Okay. So now my mouse has a nice furry outline, which I really like, but his texture within, I feel as though he could use quite a bit more texture. So I love texture. Now, this set comes with lots of automatic textures that we can just brush right over. There's a hirsute one that would be actually probably perfect because he is a little hairball. I can choose a really light color for this, and then we can just add immediate fur using the clipping mask, and at that point we can then play around with how we would like it to look. But if you don't have the Dark and Dreadful collection, or you don't have a textury, hairy type of a brush, go ahead and use your sketchy 6-8 pencil, or your sketch pencil, or your favorite sketch pencil. Grab that free beigey color, which is the first color in the Sleepy Harvest collection. Go ahead and bring your size down to maybe 10 or 11. And let's just hand texture this, because that's fun too. And just do a bunch of little hairy lines on this guy. So give him some extra texture. That one I think I did that one a little bit too fat. Let me go ahead and put that on there, but I'm making a new clipping mask for my hairy lines because I think I'm gonna want to change how they appear. I might want to change the blend mode for the hairy lines. But actually, although this part of the sketching can be repetitive, it can also be very soothing. It can also de-stress from like a hard day. I don't know if you had rough words with somebody and you are still angry about it, or you may have just been stuck in traffic, or just had a new direction from a boss. Whatever's got your mood kind of a little bit out of sorts. Sometimes doing repetitive drawing like this can help with that. So I am no psychologist, but just being a human being, I can tell you it helps me sometimes. Just kind of forget about the mad world. And you don't have to do a lot of thinking with it, which can be nice. You just know that you're just in repetitive mode. And I think the results can look really cute. And in the end, the devil is in the details. So I'm actually going to go over a little more around the edges. I'm really liking the combined look of the hirsute brush along with this hand-drawn one we're doing. And we can even do another layer. Let's blend that, do another layer with a clipping mask and grab a darker color. And then we can kind of like subtly blend. The darker areas. See, this is fun. To me, this is fun. As I said, we don't have to think about it too much, kind of just go with what feels right. we did a darker layer and we separated the layers. That makes it really easy to release and, erase. So I'm gonna press and hold my eraser because I think I did a little bit too many dark lines right here. Okay, to me that looks really cute, so I'm gonna stay with that. I'm gonna go ahead and blend those. And now I'm gonna add a layer, and I wanna color the tail and the hand, the ears and the nose. And I'm probably gonna go with like this pinky color, actually maybe even a darker pinky one. And I think I'm gonna stay with the sketch pencil. Something informal and sketchy. Make it a little bit bigger here with a little less opacity here for the ears. Kind of gently, very gently sketch it in, just for a subtle effect. And now the tail, I'm going to bring up the opacity a little bit, bring down the size, and go ahead and kind of smooth this tail, because before my sketch had a very unsmooth tail. I'm going to go in and erase. Just keep it in keeping with the look of a tail. I really think I did my tail too dark. So there's a couple of ways I can address this. Let's just do a little cheaty way. If I go to the top, you see this little squiggly ribbon thing. I can choose freehand at the bottom. This is my selection tool here at the top, this one. I'm blinking on it. At the bottom, I'm going to choose freehand. And I'm going to kind of do the marching ants around the tail. This is kind of like a workaround. Then I'm going to choose copy and paste. Now that makes it much darker, of course, because you've copied it. But if I go back down to the original layer, choose that ribbon again at the top left, and again, circle it, but this time, pull it off my page. Now you can see that my tail is on a new layer all by itself. So I can just bring down the opacity. I think that's pretty good. Maybe a little bit lower with the opacity at 69. So I like that very much. Pretty happy with that pink layer, but I do think I want to blend. I'm going to merge these, but I'm going to blend with this smear tool the ears a little bit. Just kind of moving the blending tool over the ears. See, and look, now I think my ears are too light. So let's go ahead and add a little more color. Maybe just right here. Toward the middle bottom. And again with the smear tool, this time I'll make it a little bit smaller. But I do want to keep the opacity low, because I don't want like an extreme blend type of a look. I do like the look of a subtle blend. Okay. Now we are almost done with Mousy. He does need whiskers, and he does need, I think, a little blush for his cheeks. And he also needs some of his sketch lines erased, so let's get to that. Let's do the blush. Same layer. little bit higher. I've got my Birch and S sketch pencil at 64, opacity 72. It's a little blush under his eyes and on the other side. That's sweet. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my sketching layer. That's this one on top. And I'm going to kind of bring down the opacity so I can really get a better feel of what I want to keep within the sketching layer and what I don't. And I definitely know I am going to need to get rid of some of these lines right here toward the end of his nose. So I'm going to hit my eraser and hold it. And let's see, it should be on the Birch and S sketch pencil. So I really need to erase with that. So I'll bring the size down a little bit. If I were to erase with just a general eraser that had no kind of grit or like a random quality to it, it would just be such of an extreme effect, and I want a subtle effect. Okay, so that's better. I'm going to erase some of the lines here above his eyes, some of the lines around his ears. And now on the other ear, some of the more obvious lines. And this is really just your preference. You can keep your lines if you prefer that look. There's sometimes I like a nice heavy outline. It all depends on the look I'm going for. Something super playful, I would probably want a really heavy outline. This little mousy, he's so soft that I'm not sure I really want that heavy of an outline. But as I erase too much, I think I do want some of that outline back. So I'll just bring back my opacity a little bit. And that is much better. I'm going to go back and get rid of some of these lines down here. Here around his little mousy hands, paws. Definitely want to erase around the tail. But I like leaving some of a dark line there for a shadow, and I'm actually going to add more of a shadow on the tail. So right now I'm pretty happy with my mousy. Just erasing a bit more. I want a few whiskers, and I'm going to add a shadow to the tail. We may also add more fur because that fur is so cute. So let's go ahead and start with some whiskers. I think at this point I can go ahead and blend all the layers together. Put a layer above, and for my whiskers I'm going to use this spidery thin liner. If you don't have Dark and Dreadful, you can go into sketching and use your Narrander pencil. And you can either grab the lightest color here from Sleepy Harvest, or you can grab your favorite light whisker color. And I'm putting the size 11. And I'm just going to add some long mousy whiskers here and here. super cute. If you want your whiskers even lighter, you can go up to this magic wand on the top left. Hit hue, saturation, brightness, and just take up the brightness a little bit or bring it down, whatever you think is cuter, whatever you like. I'm just gonna take mine up a tiny bit. There we go. Merging those layers. And now if I remove my background layer, I want to make sure that my mouse is opaque because I am going to be using a dark background for this. So I might want to go ahead and duplicate him and go underneath and hit my magic wand and bring up that hue, saturation, and brightness so that he really is not able to be seen through. It's very hard to tell when you have a white background. So I'll merge those layers. And let's see, I think I wanted to add a little more shadow to the tail. So let's do a clipping mask. And we'll choose maybe this brown color here. That's the 1, 2, 3, that's the 5th color from the left on the bottom of your color palette. And let's go with, back to the sketch pencil. And just kind of work some shade into the bottom there. And at the top too, because his body is overlapping the tail. Just a little bit. And of course the blender, I'm gonna hold it. And this time, since it's so small, I will not use a large blender. I'll use like a, I think it's size 8. I think I put the size at 8. And just for a little more interest, just blending those colors together and also erasing them from the furry part of the mouse. So let's see how he looks now. He's super cute. I just realized though, I do not like the way the nose is outlined with, it almost appears like a dark gray. I'd way rather have that color be a dark brown. So what can I do about that? I can make a layer above and go ahead and kind of color this brown we're using over, oopsie, someone, over the color I don't like, because it does, the brown color does seem to lend itself to that pinky nose color much better than the gray. And I can either just stay like that with that normal blend, or I can try different blends to see if there's another blend that looks just as good or better. So I'm just experimenting with the different blends. This one's color. A lot of times I like to just recolor it because it seems less extreme than if I hit normal. The line around the nose seems more subtle than the normal blend. So there's the color blend. And now here's normal. So I think I like the color blend. So I'll go with that, merge them. And there's your mouse. This is the first part of our drawing. And a lot of people would say that this was the toughest part because it is the focal point of